Good morning, everyone. Morning, Calvin. Can everyone just let me know in the chat whether you're hearing me okay? Cool. Thanks, Leah. Thanks. Debbie just said that there is a bit of a replay of my voice, a bit of an echo. I can hear that as well, so I'm not too sure what's going on there. So hopefully it's not too annoying. We might get started. So good morning, everybody. Thank you for joining us for this morning's webinar. We are recording today's session, so just in case you do need to leave early or anything like that, you will be able to rewatch this webinar at a later date. We'll also send out a link to the slides as well. My name is Summer. I'm one of the Member Services and Communications Coordinators for MPAQ, and today I will be moderating the session. This morning we're going to hear from a couple of people. Everyone's on screen right now, so hi everybody. So we've got Ernie Kretschmer, he's the MPAQ Technical Services Manager. He'll just be giving a quick update on our new training course that was just announced last week. We'll also hear from Kim from our Workplace Relations team about a few Apprentice FAQs, that kind of thing. And then the main portion of the webinar will be with Jenny from Busy at Work. And we'll be talking with Jenny about the federal government's Supporting Apprentices and Trainees package that was announced just a few weeks back. We did ask some people to submit questions. If you didn't get a chance to do that, or if you do think of a question throughout today's session, just feel free to pop that into the chat and we'll make some time to answer as many questions as we can throughout the session. So yeah, as I said, you can enter those in the chat. You can send them to everybody, or down the bottom you can click to make it a private message directly to me if you want to. Some people prefer to do it that way, so that's fine. Yeah, first up, we're just going to hear from Ernie, so I might just pass things over to Ernie when you're ready.
Good morning, everyone. I hope everyone is well. In response to members' requests for information surrounding appropriate PPE or interaction with clients on site, we put together a short course surrounding the COVID-19 virus and things that you should do, or you should at least entertain doing when visiting your customer's site. For multiple reasons, one for your business and your employees to make sure that they're doing the right thing and keeping themselves safe, but also so that you keep your clients safe and give them a degree of confidence that you're trying to do everything you can to not spread this thing. It's a short course. It'll take about 15-20 minutes to do. There is a small assessment at the end of it. And on successful completion, participants receive a certificate of mental blank. They receive a certificate at the end of the course, which also has a specific logo on it that you can use that certificate for marketing purposes, or the logo for marketing purposes, to get it out to your customers. As I said, to give them the confidence that you're not just turning up all cavalier and breaking any isolation rules. There's also resources included, such as self-assessment check sheets you can send out to your customers. There's information for businesses, employees, and customers that you can utilize as well. As I said, it takes about 15-20 minutes to complete the course. It's available to members only, and it's available to members at no cost. if you wish to have a look at it or undertake it, you can visit the website mpaq.com.au and you can undertake it there. If there are any questions or anything about that, please feel free. I'll be hanging around until the end of the webinar.
Awesome. Thanks, Annie. I did put a link up. Everyone should be able to see that in the chat as well, which will take you straight to the page on the website that has all the course information. Yeah, at this point, there isn't any questions coming through, but yeah, we'll get you back up at the end, Ernie. So if anyone thinks any questions, feel free to pop those in the chat. Yeah, thanks, Ernie. So next up, we're just going to hear from Kim. So Kim, as most of you will know, is our Senior Human Resources Advisor. She's taken an extraordinary amount of calls in the last few weeks, but specifically today, she's just going to discuss some of the apprentice FAQs that she's been getting. Yeah, that's about it. Thanks, Kim.
Thanks, Summer. Welcome, everyone. I've only got a short update on apprentices today. So what I'll do is the same as what we've done in previous webinars. I'm just going to turn my camera off and we'll just concentrate on the slides as we go through. So let's get started. So let's look at the current apprentice conditions under the Plumbing and Fire Sprinklers Award. So currently under clause 15.3 of the award, it states that apprentices will be contracted to the employer to learn the trade of plumber or fire sprinkler fitter on a full-time basis for a term of 4 years, comprising of off-the-job and on-the-job training to complete the plumbing or fire sprinkler fitting apprenticeship subject to the training agreement. So what this means is that apprentices must be employed on a full-time basis to complete their apprenticeship. However, there is 2 exceptions. So if you have an apprentice who is a school-based apprentice or an elite sports person, they can actually do a part-time apprenticeship. So what does this mean during, for your business during COVID-19? So let's look at the options of what you can do with your apprentices during this time if you were suffering a downturn in business. So according to the award currently as it stands, your apprentice must remain a full-time employee. However, you could look at an agreement with your apprentice where both parties agree that the apprentice may work 3 or 4 days a week, and the other 1 or 2 days, they take accrued annual leave. So in effect, they're still working as a full-time employee. However, they're using 1 or 2 days of their annual leave to take them up to those full-time hours. And remember, this must be by an agreement. The only other option at this stage is to stand your apprentice down for a period of time during this crisis. And we can give you further information on that if you contact one of us at MPAQ. So if you just contact the Workplace Relations team, either Emma or myself will be able to talk you through options on what you can actually do. So the Fair Work Commission have set down a hearing for tomorrow afternoon, and they've put forward a proposed award variation that is going to affect 103 awards. The Plumbing and Fire Sprinklers Award will be one of those awards, which the Fair Work Commission are looking to insert a temporary schedule that will apply up until the 30th of June 2020. So as part of this variation, the Commission would include unpaid pandemic leave. So this will allow employees to take up to 2 weeks of unpaid leave during the pandemic up until the 30th of June this year. They're also looking to changed the annual leave provisions under the award. So the proposed change is to allow an employer and employee to agree in writing for the employee to take double the amount of annual leave at half pay. So in theory, they're still taking their full annual leave entitlements, only they've stretched that out at double the time for half the pay during that period. And again, remember, this must be in writing. We will keep members updated through the daily e-alerts once that decision is handed down following tomorrow's hearing. Master Plumbers Association of Australia, which involves MPAQ, Master Plumbers in Victoria, Tasmania, South Australia, ACT and WA, have had several teleconferences over the past week to discuss a proposed variation that we will put forward to the Fair Work Commission following on from the variation hearing tomorrow. So we've worked together to put forward this proposal, and what we will be looking at is to temporarily vary the award to allow award flexibility, to allow the employer to direct a full-time employee to work part-time hours, to allow the employer to direct a part-time employee to reduce part-time hours, and more importantly, to allow the employer to direct an apprentice to work part-time hours during this crisis. We would follow the lead of the Fair Work Commission, and this would just be a temporary variation to the award up until the 30th of June this year. So again, please remember to read your daily alerts, as it contains important information for you, our members. And if you have any questions or queries outside of any of the webinars, please just call the Workplace Relations team at MPAQ. And I'll now hand over to Jenny from Busy at Work, and I'll be available to take questions at the end of this as well.
Thanks, Kim. Thank you for your update. Yeah, as Kim said, if you do have any questions, sorry, for her, we'll come back to those at the end. So just keep putting those into the chat. But I'll now introduce our next speaker, Jenny from Busy at Work. So Busy at Work, they're an MPAQ corporate supporter and they're an Australian apprenticeship support network provider. So they provide career opportunities to job seekers and students through apprenticeship, employment and support programs. If you have any questions for Jenny, we'll take the time to answer those at the end. But for now, I will hand over to Jenny. Thanks.
Good morning, everyone, and thank you to MPAQ for having me and being able to provide this information. So I too am going to turn my video off in a minute just so that you can focus on the slides. But yeah, as I said, my name's Jenny Gill. I'm the Corporate Solutions Manager for the Busy Group, which Busy at Work as an apprenticeship, Australian Apprenticeship Support Network provider is a part of. So what I've been asked to, I guess, come on today and have a bit more of a chat to you all about is the new stimulus package that the Australian government brought out, or part of the packages, being the one around supporting apprentices and trainees. So what I decided to do is just give you a brief overview of, I guess, the understanding of what the actual wage subsidy assistance is for small business, and also then looking at, I guess, the process on how to claim. So the wage subsidy assistance itself is 50% that's available for you to be able to claim back of your apprentices or trainees' wage. I know most of you, we talk about having apprentice for plumbers, but I also included trainee in this just in case as well, on the grounds that, you know, if you did have someone else who may be working in your office, or you may have a trainee of some sort, I would just, I guess, provide this information so that you can understand that you can actually be claiming for your trainees as well. Employers will be reimbursed up to $21,000 per apprentice or trainee for that period of 1 January to 30 September 2020. There's 3 monthly instalments that's provided up to $7,000 per quarter, and that is per apprentice or trainee. What you would then be looking at claiming is 50% of the actual wages you have paid between the 1st of January and the 30th of September to that apprentice or trainee. The timing of these payments is around the following. So as of the 2nd of April, that was the first, I guess, availability to start registering for the claim to be made. The subsidy will then be, for that first particular one, will be paid back to the 1st of January and will be then paid right through to the 30th September of 2020 for any apprentices and trainees that you have. The payments will be made quarterly. So what I've done is put post 2nd of April, post 2nd of July and post 2nd of October, because that's when the claim forms would be released, and then you have that time frame to then claim anything back. Your final claim, however, must be submitted before the 31st of December 2020 this year. There's actually 2 parts to this stimulus package. One, it talks about the retention of existing apprentices and trainees, and then I will also go on to in a moment about re-engagement of someone who has been let go due to COVID-19. So the eligibility criteria for the retention of an existing apprentice or trainee means that you must be a small business. Now, some of you may or may not be also a host employer to a group training organisation. Therefore, it would include yourselves. You need to be employing fewer than 20 employees. So that does actually mean 19 or less, and that includes a mixture of any full-time, part-time, casual staff that you have, regardless of whether they're an apprentice, trainee or just another staff member. The apprentice or trainee has already undertaken training as of 1st of March 2020, and I'll explain that a bit more in a minute. And then the apprentice or trainee can be in any occupation, any industry, at any Australian qualifications framework level. So starting from a Cert 2, Cert 3, Cert 4. They can be full-time, part-time, and also school-based. So undertaking training as an Australian apprenticeship means that the apprentice or trainee is to be employed under a training contract that has been formally approved by the State Training Authority. So you must have had the Apprenticeship Centre, like Busy at Work or one of the others, to come out and formally approve, get that contract completed, get it formally approved by the State Training Authority. They need to be undertaking paid work and structured training, which comprises both on and off the job training, and undertaking a negotiated training program that involves obtaining a nationally recognised qualification. So you would have had the training organisation come out and complete a training plan with you and your apprentice or trainee. The re-engagement of an out-of-trade apprentice or trainee is then able to be picked up by any employer of any size that re-engages an out-of-trade apprentice that was eligible for the subsidy. So when this originally came out, they put a date on it that it meant that you had to have an apprentice or trainee in place on the 1st of March 2020. So they're saying this is pretty much our set date of when they've recognised COVID-19 making an effect. So the apprentice or trainee had to still be undertaking an apprenticeship on the 1st of March 2020 in a small business. And then they had to then have been released from their apprenticeship with the small business after the 1st of March. And then that new employer, being a larger employer or a group training, has then re-engaged the apprentice or trainee. So are employers eligible for supporting apprentices and trainees and other incentives? So what we've also looked at is yes, you can. So if you've already been assessed as eligible for other incentives through the Australian Apprenticeships Incentives Program, you received your information back when you had your apprentice or trainee signed up. So you're saying yes, they can get a commencement incentive. Yes, they can get a completion incentive. One of the other main ones that you may have been able to receive if you have a younger person or a young adult is the support for adult Australian apprentices. You can still be receiving all this as well as the Supporting Apprentices and Trainees funding that's just been released. The only thing that this cannot be claimed for is if you have also applied for the Australian Apprentice Wage Subsidy, so they called it the AASN payment, which came out earlier this year. So if you've already signed up and receiving the AASN payment for your apprentice, you can't actually apply for this Supporting Apprentices and Trainees incentive. So what to do now? I would be assuming or hoping that most of you have already received an email and a claim form, whether it be from Busy at Work or your Apprenticeship Service Network provider. These were all sent out approximately on the 2nd of April. And as I believe, there was one or two glitches because there were so many thousands and thousands and thousands of claims going out, as you could imagine, in the first couple of days. So if you haven't received it yet, my recommendation would be to, for Busy at Work, go onto our website, which I've included there, and I'll include it again at the end of the presentation. So go to Busy at Work, and it does say to register for the stimulus package, and then we'll ensure that that claim form has been sent out. For any other AASNs, I also recommend you then contact them directly. So once you've received your claim form, it is about completing all the details. There will be the general details about confirming your legal name, trading name, ABN, etc. The business size, there is a specific question around the size. So it must be 19 or fewer staff. As I said, that includes full-time, part-time, casuals, apprentices, trainees. So it must be showing that 19 or fewer. Confirmation of the claim period. So, and that the apprentice was in training on the 1st of March. So what you're also ensuring is what claim period do you want to claim from? So if you started your apprentice prior to the 1st of January, so they started, say, October last year, then you would put that claim form will definitely be from the 1st of January through to the 31st of March, as long as you still have them employed by you at that date. If, for example, though, you only started your apprentice on the, say, the 5th of February through till, and they're still with you now, you would actually claim from the 5th of February, which covers that 1st of March, and right through to the 31st of March once again. The gross salary paid to the apprentice or trainee in the claim period. So what you will need to provide is additional evidence, which I'll talk about in a moment, but the gross salary paid, so you need to include that whole time frame that you've had them employed, anywhere between that 1st of January and 31st of March. And also make sure you include, obviously, your bank account details so that we can make that payment straight into your bank account for you. So the additional evidence that you can be starting to put together now, so if you haven't received your claim form, and we need to get you registered to make sure that's been received, the other things you can be assuring that you've got in place is, one, the training plan. If you've already provided a claim, so you've had your apprentice for a little while and you've already claimed the first commencement incentive where you provided a training plan, we don't need you to have to actually provide that again. But if you haven't provided that for any previous claims, we do need to get a copy of the training plan sent through. The training plan, please don't forget to make sure some of the important things on that training plan is that it is dated and it is signed by all parties, being the training provider, yourself as the employer, and your apprentice or trainee. The wages. So your wages evidence can include pay slips, payroll print, time wages sheets, whatever it is that you're providing, it must cover the entire period of the claim. Because what we will be doing is looking at the dates, looking at what you've actually paid. And that does also include, where I talk about, contains dates of payment and gross pre-tax wages. So gross wage for this scenario does actually include any allowances, overtime, penalty rates, and any other amount before any deductions are actually made. So we're looking at that whole payment that has been paid, that they will look at 50% of for you. You also need to make sure whatever you're providing does also obviously contain the name of the apprentice or trainee that you're claiming for, yourself as the employer and your ABN, so that we've got all those legal details. Once it's been approved, so we will actually then generate and process the claim for you. If where you've provided the gross wages paid, if it does differ for some reason from the amount that we calculate. So for example, if there was any confusion around the dates that were submitted, if we disagree from the calculator that we've been provided by the department to work those figures out, we will actually advise you that the claim has been processed and the amount that has actually been approved. We also need to take into consideration that where the total gross wages for the claim period are greater than or equal to $14,000, then the highest amount you can claim is $7,000. Otherwise, the claim amount will be 50% of those total gross wages for the period. And then the payment will actually be paid direct into your nominated bank account, as I've previously said. So to register once again for the Supporting Apprentice and Trainee Wage Subsidy with Busy, please go to our website or call 132879. Alternatively, you can, as I said, contact your other AASN Direct if you are with another provider. The other link that we're sending a lot of our employers to when we do have a chat to them, there is a website through the Treasury with coronavirus on the businesses. So I've included that in the on the screen as well, so that you can actually go back and have a look at that link as well. We are on that quite regularly, just keeping up to date as well. As you would understand, every day seems to change with some of the information and eligibilities that are coming out for some of the different programs. Are there any questions at this stage?
Hi, Jenny. Yes, we do have some questions. So, yeah, it's quite a few. So, I'm just going to bring everybody back in, and we might just get rid of this. Annie, are you there?
Oh, sorry.
No, it's all right. There we go. Cool. Yeah, I just thought this might be easier to run through some of the questions. I'll start with, I've got a couple for Ernie. With the training course, a couple of people asked whether individual staff members can do the course, or is it just the business owner?
No, business owners, staff, yeah, no problem at all. Everyone in your business is able to do the course. That's no problem.
And there was another one which you may be able to answer as well. It was from Anna. She said, are we able to continue work at a domestic property for an elderly person? Apparently she's persistent that we continue safely with the works. We're not using her facilities. She remains on the other side of the home whilst we are working in the laundry. All social distancing and safety procedures are in place.
I don't see a problem with that, and it sounds like you're doing everything the right way by being in a separate part of the dwelling to the occupants. Nothing has been advised. We're not in lockdown. Should lockdown occur, there will be limitations on the type of work we can do. Plumbing will be listed as an essential service, I believe. So work will still be able to proceed, but Mrs. Smith's bathroom renovation probably isn't an essential service, so that wouldn't proceed. But things like block drains, burst pipes, all that kind of emergency stuff would definitely be able to be done, observing all the proper PPE, distancing, all that sort of thing.
Cool. And then, yeah, we've got a few questions for Jenny. So, sorry. So the first one was from Kristen. So she said that they had 20 employees in January and February, but they now only have 19. Do you know whether they would still qualify for the first time period? Is it 19 as at today?
What the figures are is it has to be 19 or less on the 1st of March. So 20 in February, but one of those had gone prior to the 1st of March. As long as it was 19 or less from the 1st of March, then yes, they could claim back to 1st of January. now that they have 19, it's something, unfortunately, it is crucial. It's of much date that is the impact. We're actually a employers at the moment just to do that follow up. That is the critical date, so that's what it needs to be 19 on 1st of March.
Okay. And one question I actually had, it came from a previous webinar we did actually. So somebody asked, so the 1st of March was a Sunday, and we had a member say that they had an apprentice start on the Monday, because obviously Monday's the first day of the week. Have you heard of other people in this position, or whether they would still be eligible?
We have heard of others in this position where they've started someone on the 2nd of March. At this point, our criteria advised is that they would not be eligible because of it's been still the 1st of March, but if they wanted to try and definitely put in an argument to that point, I know others are doing so at the moment. So it could only be looked at. It's something that we can actually approve. It would have to go to the approve.
Okay. Cool. Ken asked, with the gross wages for the apprentice, does that include their super contribution?
Let me double check that, but I believe no, but I will double check. Let me get back to you on.
So Anna asked, so they submitted their claim, but they didn't include the training plan. Will they have the opportunity to provide it now, later on, down the track kind of thing?
Yeah. What will happen is as soon as someone's looking at that, assessing that, a claim will be the first thing that will come out. There will be it'll be returned for to be provided. So if it was done with Busy, just get her to email it straight through to us or through to Joe, who's on the contact list, and we'll just get that uploaded so that they can probably get it through quicker.
Okay. And Jane asked, is an employee wage summary sufficient, or do they need to provide individual pay slips?
I'd have to have a look at, because what everyone classifies as different, like summary or something like that, we'd look at it. So I guess generally it can be even a print from, say, Xero or MyOb or anything like that. It's just verifying what's being paid. So it depends on the wage summary. So as long as it's included everything that's been, or you should be okay, but we can't confirm if that'll be. If they submit it, what will happen is if it's not enough, then they will get returned with asking for a request to apply. Just apply a little bit more information.
Cool. A few other people have commented and said that they either did the same or they suggested, yeah, doing individual pay slips, that kind of thing. So, well, good.
Yeah.
Crystal did send a question just saying that, so obviously I think their apprentice must be with MEGT, so just asking whether they're meant to be the ones sending her the claim.
Yes. Yes, they are.
Yeah.
If you've received it as yet, I would definitely giving them a call.
Yeah. So Tamara asked, can anyone make a claim if they have an apprentice, even if they haven't been affected financially yet?
Absolutely. Yep, this is for everyone who has an trainee. It's about being able to retain them. So even if for this package, even if they haven't affected yet, absolutely put my name in.
Cool. Sue, yeah, just got, I think, one or two more. Sue said that they submitted their paperwork for the claim. They pay fortnightly. So the last payday in March was the 20th of March. She said, I've now paid them for the fortnight ending on the 2nd of April. Should I have included this pay slip in my claim as well?
Yes, yeah, definitely you should have. So what we do is then we just calculate the payment up until the 31st of March. So yes, we do need to get that extra pay slip in so that she can be paid for that extra few days. And what will actually happen is the 1st and 2nd of April will then already be on file for when she puts the next submission in, if we're going to claim again at the end of June.
Leslie just made a comment. She hasn't said who she made the claim with, but she just said that she didn't attach her training plan as it didn't allow for this in the claim online.
Oh. I'll have a look. We haven't had any discussion about this, so I'll make sure what's happening with the training plans, and can I come back to you, Summer, and send that through?
Yeah, absolutely. So Jenny will come back to us. And so Sue, who asked the previous question about the pay period ending on the 2nd of April, she just said, because since she's already made the claim, how does she then add that extra pay slip? Does she just contact her network provider?
Yeah, absolutely. Contact her network provider. If it's with Visit, definitely you just call that 132879 and we'll get that added on so that we can make sure it's not.
Cool. All right, I think that might be all of the questions. Just in case anybody's still thinking of any, I might just keep us going. So yeah, if you think of any others, just pop those in the chat now and we can come back to them. But Sue said, sorry, as well, Jenny, that they do use Busy at Work. So
nice. Just go to direct.
Go to them direct.
We'll
Yeah.
sort that out.
Cool. I'll just put the info back up on the screen as well. Is it? Yeah, this one. Just in case you do need to grab that if you are using Busy at Work. But yeah, I will just talk a little bit about what else we're up to at MPAQ. So quite a lot of people have already joined, but I just wanted to put in a reminder about the Facebook group that we've created. So it's a closed Facebook group specifically for members. The link is up on the screen there at the moment. Otherwise, you can just go to our Facebook page and under our groups, it's got it listed there. We have had quite a few people try to join but not actually fill out any of the questions. So if you haven't been admitted yet, it may be because we're just waiting on some of that additional info. So just make sure you fill in the questions when you go to join, just so that we can get you approved as quickly as possible. We will also be hosting another webinar, our next webinar, because this is only a short week. We're going to do it probably next week. So the JobKeeper payments, we talked about those in our last webinar with Exact Accounting, but a lot of the information was a little bit vague just because the legislation hasn't been passed or anything like that yet. So that's expected to happen on Wednesday. And then following that, we're going to get Exact Accounting back online to talk more about the JobKeeper payments, what it means, how to work, all that kind of stuff. So we'll probably announce the date and time for that later this week. So keep an eye out for that one. Yeah, I think that's about it. I can't see any more questions that have come through, so we might wrap things up now. So thank you, everybody, for joining us. Thank you, Ernie, Kim, Jenny, thank you for presenting with us here today. I hope everyone's, I hope everyone's gotten some useful information and guidance from today. Yeah, I suppose that's it. So stay safe. Let us know if there's anything else that MPAQ can do to be of further assistance. And I hope you all have a good day. Thanks, guys.
Thanks, everyone. Thanks. Bye.